Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of The Source. I am your host, Jim Stroud, and with me today is a very special guest. Special guest, tell us, who are you and what do you do?
I am Jodi Hill, and I have been in the TA recruiting space um, for longer than I'd like to recall. But I have led global teams. I've worked in tech. I've worked in healthcare. You name it, I've done it. If you need the talent, I help find it.
Okay, been there, done that, and have the t-shirt, I imagine.
Yes.
Very cool. Now, in a previous conversation, we were talking about the evolution of sourcing. A lot
Mhm.
of people are saying sourcing is on the way out because of all these AI tools, but you have a different perspective. Tell us,
Mhm.
if you would, how do you think sourcing will evolve over the next few years?
Yeah. As I was referencing earlier, I think sourcing, the problem is that it hasn't evolved. Put different we put different spins on it. We've done different techniques, created technologies, but at the end of the day, sourcing really hasn't evolved as a practice. And when I say that, it's because we've been so focused on individuals and as we think about sourcing, finding, identifying the right talent for us, the problem is we keep using the same Lego pieces to build that funnel and the same funnel, and we are not actually thinking about broader. What are the other tools and elements that we can think about as we're sourcing? And this revelation came to me a couple years ago. I worked in a company and we were a very successful kind of mid-sized company. And in our backyard was kind of a Fortune 200 company that was in the same or similar space. So it's not super surprising that our talent would migrate there on a fairly regular basis. And every now and then we'd catch a win too, but it was a one-way kind of highway. And I talked to one of the recruiters there, and this got me thinking. They said, Jodi, we know for certain positions, we can watch LinkedIn. We will watch when somebody gets hired, and for a certain title or certain thing, they announce and they put on their LinkedIn profile, and we flag that profile. And then in 9 months later, if they do not promote the next step level up because they knew our cycles, they knew what we trained, what we did. If that person didn't post in the next 6 to 9 months that got the level 2 promotion, um, they knew it wasn't great talent. But as soon as somebody posted, they just went in. They knew what we paid, they knew our titles, they knew what we did. They talked to somebody, and it was a targeted approach. They were using
Wow.
the understanding that people and professionals oftentimes are a product of the environments in which they came from. And if you think about that, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
That we were their farm team. No better way to put it. They knew somebody got hired 6 to 9 months. If they post, they're great. If it took them 12 to 15 months, wasn't somebody they were interested in. And they just
Wow.
let that person sit on the team. And so then I started working with my team then. And it was, it's kind of like picking up a sledgehammer and attacking a brick wall because we didn't have some of the technology, but something I called Project Gray Matter. And I focused on recruiters saying, why don't we build out some market intel about companies that we encounter with candidates? Because let's face it, candidates will spill their guts in an interview, right? They tell you so much insider information, and oftentimes recruiters aren't mining that, and sourcers
Hmm.
and nobody is mining that information, doing anything with it other than, yeah, this is a great role because we're focused. Like, this is the position I need to fill, and it's right here, and that's all I see. And I just think that sourcing the next evolution isn't about continuing to focus here. It's opening our horizons and looking at all the Lego pieces that we can build from and pull from and stack to create our candidate funnel. So that's kind of a short and sweet
I like
synopsis.
that. I like that. It reminds me of something of an idea I had in the past. Never did do it, but I think it would have been cool if a company could build a competitive intelligence database.
Hmm.
So if I know I am going to target a candidate out of company X, I know what people like about company X. I know what they don't like about company X. I know which managers people love. I know which managers people don't like, you know. And if I am going to pursue someone there, I can create a outreach email or personalize the outreach so well that they could not resist interviewing with us, you know, and that's the kind of
Mhm.
stuff you could get from candidates, you know, the kind of primary research that you can't find online. And to have that, that would be awesome because then I would know, okay, we can't match them in salary, but our benefits are so much better than theirs, you know.
Mhm.
They hate the red carpeting over there, but we have lovely blue carpeting over here, you know, that kind of thing. That
Mhm.
would be awesome for a lot of companies to have, I think.
Yeah, and you think about the possibilities where it can, I mean, you might know certain companies from a titling perspective, their their senior recruiter is actually one of our recruiters. That's a hard pull to try to pull somebody from a senior recruiter role into a recruiter role, or I'm sorry, our senior developer into a developer role, for example. That's a hard pull because of the title. But if you can talk their language like you're an insider, people get comfortable with people. If you're referencing known factors that you have about their environment, people are more likely to open up and talk to you freely about that or kind of catch their attention on that. I think that years ago I worked with the executive recruiter, and this guy knew everything. He knew what at a senior leadership, what projects, what companies were, when they were winding down, when was going to be a good time to hit that company. Like, hey, they have a big deployment coming up, and then the way their sprints run, they'll do X, Y, and Z. And I think that we can adapt those practices if we just do what we should be doing more, which is listening. Right. Did you ever see the movie Avengers by Marvel? And there's a scene where the Black Widow is on a chair. She gets a call from Agent Coulson,
Yeah.
and she's like, I'm in the middle of interrogation. This fool is telling me everything. And the Russian was like, I tell her nothing. And I think this is really applicable because sometimes we as talent acquisition professionals get on a call with someone, and as soon as we decide they're not a fit, we try to wrap that call up as quickly as
Yeah.
possible. And I'm like, this is someone who's going to give us so much information about a company we know nothing about. Spend some time. They'll spill their guts. They'll tell you exactly what you want to know and whether or not this is a good, viable talent pool for you to recruit.
I think this is such a good idea. I know other people have thought of this at some point. I'm wondering the reason why it's not an industry standard among sourcing already is because so many sourcers and recruiters are just too transactional. They just want to send an email or maybe a text and then get a response back, or maybe send it to a chat bot. And it seems like a lot of the newer generation. Maybe I'm dating myself. These new young whippersnappers, they don't know how to pick up the phone and talk to somebody.
Yeah.
you know. They don't know the kids' names of the people they're talking to. They just, name, rank, serial number, and the only reflex to not getting someone on the phone is to spam 50 more people. Eventually,
Mhm.
somebody will respond back. Uh, that's probably why a lot of these ideas that we're talking about haven't happened yet. What do you think?
I think all of the above, and this is where I get excited about folding in AI, right? I think that in the past, everything would have been really manual and really disparate in terms of sources. It's a lot of work. You would have to hire people just to do the research, right? And
Hmm.
kind of find this out. But with the advent and birth and now proliferation of AI, you could ask AI to look at a candidate's profile, and instead of like analyzing fit for job, because let's face it, everyone has a somewhat AI generated resume, which means we all
Sure.
have a same or similar um, I call it the digital verbal avatar, right? Or not verbal, but written avatar. But now what happens if you can start understanding who this person is by having AI say, return information about the companies, right? And then as you're using AI tools like a MetaView tool where you're talking to candidates, you have a database now of AI tool where you can say, hey, tell me all the candidates I've spoken to from company X. What do we know about company X? And now you can start building this in and
Mm,
hopefully start integrating all of these technologies so that you can do this not with a sledgehammer, but what maybe with something a little bit more refined and less brute force. And I think that actually will be the key to unlocking this so that sourcers are no longer focused on like the old fashioned idea of like resumes are what I use to evaluate whether or not somebody should enter my funnel. But now we can open up this whole concept of like what is the persona of the person and what makes a persona? Because we're all products of our environments, of where we came from, and use that as a launching pad to put together a strategy.
Yeah, I like a lot of that is based on imagination, I think.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I think that's a key differentiator between the different sourcers, those who can take these tools and use them in imaginative ways. Because I look at a lot of the AI tools that are out there, and sometimes I look at them and I think, okay, we're in the middle of a AI tool arms race in a sense, right?
Yeah.
So if Company X has all these great AI tools and Company Z has all these AI tools, then who really has the advantage? I think it's the person who has the advantage is the one who could take the same tool and apply it different ways to get different results from the other
Mhm.
person.
Mhm.
What do you think of that?
Oh, I think you're spot on. I think that where AI will, I mean, I'm not a computer scientist, and I don't build robots in my basement for my side gig, my side hustle. But I will say this, from what I've seen thus far, the human intervention, the ability to make those connections is important, and you have to have a curious mind. You have to be creative. I mean, I think that's spot on, and I also think that you need the ability of um, people are not like a fast food restaurant menu. It's not a la carte. You just
Right.
punch in a bunch of things you have to do because at some point it all synthesizes together. And I think that recruiters, that human intervention, that instinct has to be pulled in from a person to do that. And the talent acquisition professionals, whether you're a sourcer, or recruiter, or anyone else, um, having that ability is what will differentiate anyone in this market and really truly give birth to the next evolution of our craft.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think of this? Because I had a conversation with somebody else about this very thing too, about the evolution of sourcing. And my um, prediction was that in the future we'll have to focus a lot on talent attraction because these AI tools, they're finding people, but they're only finding people based on what's publicly available. There are
Mhm.
some people who don't have their resumes out there or who only have name, rank, and serial number on their LinkedIn profile, so you don't know what they can do. So to
Yeah.
find those really niche candidates, you have to attract them to you. Do you
Mhm.
see talent attraction becoming a major portion of sourcing in the future, or do you see it still separate?
No, it is the future. It's not a question of separate or can you run it in parallel. I actually at Talent 42 a couple of years ago, I did a presentation on this of personas. We need to learn how to speak the language of the candidate that we want to target, right? So in other words, I did a great project at my last company where we had these roles where everyone thought that the most successful attributes and what we interviewed for was collaboration and teamwork because it seems like those are good things to have, right? But
Right.
when we actually started digging into building out a persona for that role, we actually did interviews, right? We intentionally chose a mix of high performers and low performers, right? And we said, what differentiates these two populations? And we found out the people that were more successful used words like teamwork and collaboration less. And they were more interested and more goal oriented, et cetera. And so now when you start building a persona and you talk about talent attraction, you use the lingo of the people that are most successful in these roles to say, do you like, instead of talking about teamwork and collaboration, we're like, we're here to set you up for success because we're going to give you tight goals. We're going to give you this. And it attracts the people that actually are attracted to that. And not just, so it talks about not just the people who have good chemistry or can get a job through an interview, but we're now narrowing the pool and trying to attract the people who are most likely to do well in the job. Does that make
Oh.
sense? It's kind of,
No, no, it makes perfect
splitting
sense.
hairs.
No, no,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense. And it also makes me think it would be kind of cool if, and I see this as a cool tool for job seekers, but also recruiters as well. If an AI could say, okay, let me analyze your resume, let me analyze the things
Mhm.
you've learned. You said you wanted to be a CTO when you grow up. So at this point in your career, you have the skills and knowledge to be maybe a VP of technology, whatever. And if you're not, if you and this is the next step in your career, VP of technology. These are the skills you don't have. these are the skills. So look for a job or either projects in your present job that allow you to get these skills so that you can be positioned best to become a CTO in the future.
Hmm.
I see that great for a job seeker, but I also could see that being reverse engineered for a company.
Hmm.
Analyze the people in your ATS, and this is the person, the role we're looking to fill in 6 months from now or a year from now as CTO because so and so is going to retire or whatever. So who can we start grooming now inside the company, or who do we have in our ATS that we could hire now and groom them to the point where they could be CTO in a couple of years when our CTO retires?
Hmm.
That would be
Hmm.
kind of cool to do.
It would be great. And I also think there's so much work to be done here in partnership with other um, talent related areas of talking about um, what are what are transferable skills. We all talk about skill-based
Mm,
hiring, right? And it is really important, but we just don't understand. I just don't think as a field we understand what skill-based hiring really means. I'm sure you've heard it through the course of your career. I despise when managers tell me they want someone who can hit the ground running. And so I actually had a clip for a while where I would literally show them a clip of somebody who jumped out of a moving vehicle and their feet were moving. And what happened? It never goes well. It doesn't go well. I'm like, that's what hitting the ground running looks like. It never goes well. Right. And it's that concept of understanding what true skills are. And I think the important question is, as manager, do you have the ability to upskill someone? Right? And I think that's a really key question we have to think about when we're building teams and talking about that succession planning. Because if you don't have the ability to give somebody those new skills, you're right. You've got to go buy it because you can't build it. Right.
exactly.
So understanding skill-based hiring is something I think that we should focus on when it comes to recruiting and sourcing because hiring for the skills you need today, the skills you need tomorrow, but also understanding what you can build versus what you need to buy is important.
What you say reminds me of something that IBM is actually doing. When they do their who is this said this? Gina Rometty, I think, if she's still the CEO of IBM. Um, she had this program where your annual bonus depended on your workplace performance plus any classes you've taken
Hmm.
to skill you for future stuff, right? So
Hmm.
if you took a course in AI or prompt development or something like that,
Hmm.
then and you did well in it, then they say, okay, we're going to give you an extra bump in your pay because not only did you perform well during the year, but you've also uh, future-proofed yourself by taking this course. So I think if companies start doing that, tying in certain courses and making that part of a bonus at the end of the year, that will incentivize people even more so to
Hmm.
to take those classes, and it also will help the company retain their employees as well, over
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and I think that like you got like one of the things that, and this is kind of off topic or tangential this conversation, but I do think that one thing companies don't always do great is, um, they will offer opportunity to, whether through a video or some kind of L&D program to learn about a new skill. But I just reflect on this in a recent post on LinkedIn. It's like learning is a journey. It's not just acquiring knowledge or information, but companies need to follow up with, hey, we gave you some kind of classroom knowledge based basics, but now we've got to give you the opportunity to apply that information and figure out how does this manifest itself in the day to day. Like you can learn about project management, and I can teach you about, you know, um, requirements and milestones and parking lots and risk mitigation. But if I don't give you the opportunity to use that in a real world example,
Yep,
then I can send you to as many courses as I want to, and it's not going to do you any good because I need to follow up with the application, right?
exactly, exactly, and I think, and I've heard this several times too. If someone really knows how to do something, then they can teach somebody how to do it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
if a company says, okay, I'm going to pay for you to take this AI course, at the end of it, I want you to teach some aspect of it to your coworkers. Give
Hmm.
a 2 hour, an hour presentation on how to do some aspect of what you just learned, what I just paid for. And if you could do that, then I know you've learned it. Now you're even more useful to me as an employee.
Yeah.
So that would be cool. That'd be cool.
I
I
agree.
think we're solving the world's problems on this call today.
And all before I finished my first cup of coffee. So hey, we're
That's how
rocking and
you
rolling.
roll.
Exactly.
If someone has more HR related problems or recruiting problems to solve and they want to reach out to you for more information, how could they find you online?
Um, Fastest way to connect with me is on LinkedIn because, as much as I think LinkedIn is a thing, it's still the lifeblood of how we connect with our communities. So LinkedIn is the best place to find me.
Very cool. Thank you so much for your time. It has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you. It's been great. This is an amazing opportunity to chat with you.
In a blind taste test, we compared the sourcing and recruiting training of various companies to the training available at SourceCon Academy. These are the results. Oh, this is so exciting, so exciting. All right, here we go. Put the blindfold on now. This is, never done this before. All right. I see nothing, so let's get started.
What are your first impressions?
I'm not impressed. It just tastes like any other training that's out there. I mean, I've experienced lots of other recruitment training and sourcing training, and this, it's all the same, nothing different.
So what do you think of this product?
Right away I can tell this is something different. Huh. Wow. Wow, this is amazing. Experience the difference for yourself. Register for an online class today and take your sourcing to the next level. I like this. I like this.